Hi everybody, I would like to show you a new video, and actually this one is more of a rundown of all the Leicas, the Leica family, the Rangefinder family, or at least those that I currently own. I've owned a few others that are not now in my possession anymore because I chose to change or to sell them, and I will in some cases even tell you why and which ones they were. So let's start with the Leica IIIf that I have. This is not an M Leica because it's still the screw mount version of the camera. It has a collapsible 50mm Elmar lens, but it's already a rangefinder camera. It's not a coupled rangefinder, which means that you have two little viewfinders that you have to look through. One is for measuring the distance, and that's the rangefinder, and then you have one that you use to compose the image and take the picture. The camera is actually really nice. It's very small. It's very compact, still very sturdy. This one I think was built in 1946. I've had it for a while. It's not 100% reliable because sometimes it misses a frame, but for everything it's really a nice camera. With this one you still have to respect certain rules. For example, you will have to first charge the mechanism, or like wind the film, and then you can change the speed settings. But it's small things that you have to respect, and the images that you get are really nice, and it feels good to take pictures with a camera like this. One thing I would like to point out: every camera I have I actually use, so every now and then I really go out with this one. It's actually very compact, even compared to the M series. It was a very small camera. You could say the form factor is what you now have in the X series, like the X1, the X2 by Leica. So this is the Leica 3, still a screw mount camera. And then my first M camera in chronological order is the legendary M3. I have a double stroke version, so that means that you take the picture, then you go twice, and then you can take another picture. With this one you can change the speed settings whenever you want, before or after. No problem. It will be very reliable, and this one actually is very reliable. I've been taking pictures with it for more than a year now, and it's really nice. This one does not have a light meter. There were a few light meters that you could get for this. Actually, I have one here. These were the light meters that you had for them. This one was not battery operated, and it couples to the speed setting ring. So you will set the speed on this wheel, and it will show you the combination with the aperture that you can set. This one doesn't really work so well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. This is the usual problem you have with these, because basically they will run out after some years, and these ones are really old. There's a battery operated version. I don't have that. If I really want to have reliable measurements and not trust an estimate, I will take a handheld meter with this camera. Still, this is basically the first and, well, most iconic Leica M camera. It already had a coupled rangefinder, so you have one window, you have a little box inside, and through that one you focus. The other advantage this has, or disadvantage to some, it's the frame. The frame of view is for 50 millimeters. This one does not take 35 millimeters. It takes them, but it doesn't represent the view of a 35 millimeter. So used with 50 millimeters, which actually is my favorite focal length, this one is really ideal because it magnifies to an extent that is perfect for that. Then the second one, or actually the third one, but the second M camera, is the M6. This is an older version of the M6, and you can see the difference because this one only says M6 in the front, and the later versions, for example, the TTL version said M6 and then Leica underneath. That was already more of a branding thing. This was still an operating, working camera to take pictures, not so much a luxury object. This one has a built-in light meter. So you set the ISO here, and then you have an indicator with two little triangles that will show you which direction you have to turn the aperture ring, or the opposite direction to which you have to turn the speed if you want to work in, say, aperture priority mode. This camera is really reliable. It's a very robust camera. I've had it for 25 years now, and I've used it quite a lot. Not as much as I would have liked to, because at a certain point I was going more for the SLR or DSLR thing, but it's still a very reliable, very good camera that does the job and delivers excellent quality. Then the next one I had an M7 that was basically an M6 with aperture priority. This one does not have aperture priority. It's all like manual mode. And then I sold that because I didn't see any sense in that. If I go film, I will go in a more, manual way. However, at a certain point, I decided to still take an option of something like a rangefinder, an M-mount rangefinder camera with aperture priority, and that was the Minolta CLE that I got. That's a cooperation between Minolta and Leica that they did a few years back, and this is a very compact camera. Actually, it's a lot smaller than an M camera. It's really good, and at the time it was built, where you had film, basically the image quality was more influenced by the lens than by anything else. So in fact, if you mount M glass on this camera, the image quality that you will get is basically the same you would get with the Leica camera. And the nice thing about this one, since it was built to be more compact, even the lenses they made for this camera were very, very, very small. You would call this nowadays a pancake lens because it's really tiny. And this one is not the Minolta version. There were Minolta versions and there were Leica versions, and this is actually the Leica Summicron 2.0 40 millimeters. They did not have a 50 millimeter. The focal lengths, I think, for this camera series were 28, 40, and 90 millimeters. And accordingly, you have the frame lines. You cannot select the frame lines manually. And this camera has a battery and runs only on battery, and will not take pictures without a battery. But still, very nice camera, and very good results, and very, very compact, both lens and camera. And also, to basically substitute the M7 that I had, I got this Hex R Rangefinder, which is also like a M mount. So you can use the same lenses on this one. And this is actually more of what you would call a modern camera, because you have aperture priority lock, you have continuous, it's motor driven, by the way, so you have single, continuous, and self timer. It's a more modern camera, but still uses the Leica lenses and has the rangefinder to focus. So this was a more modern camera, still very nice camera, very robust. If you hold it, it's definitely not below the Leica that you had back then in quality. I like this better than the M7. In fact, that's why I got this one. And then basically the change came to digital, and Leica built first the M8, M8 II, which were crop sensor cameras, and I did not want them, and I did not get them. I got the M9 and the M9P, and then opted for the M Monochrom. This is still, I guess, the only digital camera that delivers only black and white images. It's basically an M9 with a reduced sensor, actually, well, I would say enhanced sensor, because the details you get out of it are much better than back then with the color enabled sensor. But in terms of use, it's still a very, very simple camera. The menu is, well, the screen is a disaster. The menu is very basic. You have a few settings, but for example, what you can say, and back then in the era of the M9, you had the ISO problem. The M9 was terrible on high ISO and low light. This one goes up to 10,000 ISO and does that beautifully. It is grainy, but it's almost like film grain. And now a lot of people will scream, no, that's impossible, there's nothing as beautiful as film grain. Well, honestly, this one is the thing that gets closest to film grain in any digital camera. Very happy with this camera, still use it. However, it's a limitation to only have black and white. Taking color pictures and then converting them to black and white, even with specialized software, is one thing, but taking a photo and only having that photo in black and white is something we're not used to anymore. And that's why in the end, and thanks to a person that is very close to me who gave me as a present the Leica M-P, which is basically the Leica M model 240 with some little modifications, a little more sturdy sapphire crystal back, or the screen is sapphire crystal, and this one is a 24 megapixel color camera, still rangefinder. So basically, let's say this one is the newest one you have, and this one was the first M. The size changed a little bit, but the form factor is basically still the same. And these two are the opposite ends of the family of Leica M rangefinder cameras. They still have, in my eyes, the same fascination about them. Using them feels very similar, even though obviously this is a film camera with no electronics in it, no exposure metering, nothing, and this is a relatively modern camera with not as loaded as some DSLRs that you have out there, but still with a few functions. It has video. You may never use video, but it has it. It has a rather modern and not so bad exposure metering system, still manual focus. So basically, you know, if you want to use these two side by side, you know, you go in, you take the lens off this one, put it on this one, and you're happy to go. and then you take it off this one and back on this one, and with the same lens, the same look and feel, you will actually work in a very similar way. And that's why I like the Leica rangefinders, even in digital, because they reduce, or they make you reduce your photography to you, the camera, and the subject you're taking pictures of. It's not so much of a filter as any modern camera would be. So this is my quick overview. It's not so quick. It's like 16 minutes of the Leica family, or as far as I can talk about it. Hope you liked it. Come back soon. I will try, maybe go into single cameras that I've shown you here, maybe starting with this one soon. Take a look at the videos I made about the digital M's, and subscribe if you like, and hope to see you here soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.